Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.
Welcome, everybody, to the 21st episode of the Blacks in Technology audio podcast. I'm your tech host for today, Greenlee, owner and founder of the Blacks in Technology community site. You can check us out at www.blacksintechnology.net. You can also follow us on Twitter at Black in Technology. That's BLKINTECHNOLOGY. And you can also link up with us on our LinkedIn group under the same name, Blacks in Technology. Tonight we have co-host Ronnie joining us today for tonight's podcast. It is October the 12th, 2011. And tonight on our show, we have entrepreneur, programmer, Curtis Pope. Curtis is 29 years of age, and he is the youngest black entrepreneur within the Silicon Valley tech scene. He also contributes information about entrepreneurship, design, motivation on blogs such as Hacker News, Black Enterprise, Twitter, Facebook, Building While Brown, and is also featured in sites like TechCrunch, CNN.com, PC Magazine, and CNET. He is the CEO of AisleFinder, and we're going to get into what AisleFinder is and talk a whole lot about his background and a lot about the technology behind AisleFinder. So we want to thank Curtis for coming on the show. Curtis, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me. I'm a long-time listener in you guys' 20 episodes, and I'm pretty happy to be number 21 here.
Excellent. 21 is that's a good number. It's 777. So if you hit that in the slot somewhere, then.
Oh man.
So this is a lucky podcast.
Oh, I guess so. Huh.
So thanks for definitely joining us, man. Went over and checked out your site, heard some great things about you. I know you were a part of NewMe Accelerator. We're going to also get into that. But let's get into, your background about you. Where were you raised at? Where were you born? How did you get into technology?
I was born and raised here in Silicon Valley in a place called San Jose, California. I grew up around San Jose and a little town called Milpitas as well. The way, I'm born and raised here, so you're always around technology. There's just no way to avoid it. So I remember, one of my first technology encounters, especially from a PC standpoint, was a little Mac 2E that we had at school, and I used to play Sticky Bear on it. That's probably my earliest technology, experience.
Okay. So were you influenced by any one person, or was it just something that you kind of picked up? Like me, I was influenced by by the movie War Games. There's a lot of techies out there where I think.
Oh man.
But that's kind of how I'm a little older than you, so I don't know if you relate to the War Games thing.
No, I think I can relate to a little bit to that. I didn't grow up having the path of going into technology at all, actually.
Okay.
A lot of my life actually was dedicated to the arts. I wanted to be a comic book artist. So a lot of my training as far as skills and all that good stuff was from a purely creative standpoint, from learning how to draw and design things with computers and learning that whole part of the game and, just trying to excel at that. That's kind of actually how I got into technology because I started doing graphics and everything. And I think this was, I think it was 94, 95 when I started doing computer graphics.
Okay.
And I was doing T-shirts. I was doing pretty much everything that you can put graphics on, really. From billboards and signs and things like that as a high school student to later on in my final year of high school, a little company called Yahoo was hiring for HTML developers. So, my teacher at the time, he was a guy that taught high school as well as college students, and I was taking a lot of college classes when I was in my senior year, and that's how I got springboarded in, because I learned this little language called HTML.
Wow.
Where did you say you went to college at again? I didn't catch that, if you said it.
I was living in a little town called Modesto, which is about 45 to an hour away from San Jose, where I spent my adolescence pretty much. So I went to high school in Modesto, California. I went to the same high school that George Lucas went to. And, this was a high school purely that was focused on the arts of filmmaking and all that stuff. And so I was out there, and then after that, I was, during the last 2 years of high school, I was actually taking this 2+2 ROP program, which is an occupation program within high school that helps you learn a trade or a skill, but also applies college credits to what you learn. So by the time you get out of high school, you have almost a degree. You have maybe 6 months to go, and you'll have a degree after you graduate. So that's what I did all through high school the last 2 years. And then after that, I went to Modesto Junior College, which is a cool little hippie college.
Okay.
And then after that, I went to San Jose State for a little while, just to kind of finish up some things that I thought I needed as far as my general ed and some business classes. So
nice. So let me ask you this: Are you a Marvel or DC person?
Oh, geez. I grew up all Marvel. That was it. Make my Marvel. And and then as I started when I was an adult, I started, dabbling in DC. So, they got
did
me.
you have, this is, totally not tech, but have you seen the trailers for the new Avengers?
Yeah, I have. I've seen everything that I can get my hands on.
What do you think? You think it's going to be? Think it's going to be any good? I was kind of disappointed with Thor. I didn't see Captain America yet, but Thor kind of disappointed me.
Yeah, I wasn't really feeling any of that. I just, the trailer was good, but I just think when you have that many strong lead actors, I think it's going to be really hard to figure out what the story is going to be about. Because, for these big-time actors like Robert Downey, in a film, you have to have a certain amount of glory time for them, So who knows how it will turn out? These guys are used to having their own films and not having to share the spotlight. So I will see it regardless.
Yeah, exactly. I'm only asking because I'm a comic book enthusiast, so I've been collecting comic books for a long time, and so like when they come out with these movies, I'm the guy that's like, everybody else is loving it, and I'm the guy that's like, but it didn't, the storyline didn't follow this in the comic book, and it wouldn't have happened like this in a comic book. I'm that person.
Yeah.
So.
But the thing that I really love about the medium of comics that really translated to the way I work even today is the fact that you can really let your imagination run wild. I mean, it really has no rules as far as, creatively, because you can really craft a whole movie within a comic book. And, in the startup game, it's kind of the same. You can craft whatever experience you want your users to have on the web. You're not shackled to desktop software anymore. So I kind of translate both of those things as being very related as far as creative.
Gotcha. So you went from
Captain America was all right. I went to see it at a screening that Citrix was giving of their virtual desktop solution. So at that screening they showed Captain America in 3D. So for free, I think it was good to go see. But but I like how you tied that into. I like how you tied that into your web development, being able to design. It's kind of an open field, open area. It's up to your imagination to come up with whatever it is that you can come up with. And there's so many different languages you can learn and so many different things that you can do. It's really limited to yourself. I mean, people have proven with technology you can do just about anything that you can imagine. Like the iPad. People 100 years ago would have seen you swipe something to. You say I'm breaking up?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you're breaking up quite a bit.
I'm sorry. I'm
That's
on
all right.
my
You're
VoIP
forgiven
phone.
for this podcast. The next time it's on you.
I'll
Next time
edit
it's on
you out.
Yeah.
I'll edit you out the script.
Yeah, just completely cut his audio out.
Okay.
Flip it up, you know.
Yeah, but
Like,
you're breaking up really bad. I don't know if the VoIP thing is going to work or not. You want to try calling back in on your cell?
Yeah, I'll call back in on my cell.
Okay.
The VoIP is probably pretty slow right now because I got a lot of stuff downloading. So.
Great.
I'll call back.
Incriminate us.
Oh, there's your first problem right there.
Yeah.
Too busy.
Hey, I'm a busy guy. I'm always doing something.
Yeah, you need a bigger.
I think as soon as I.
You need to stop that phone.
Back in. Yeah, I'm calling back.
All right. So let's getting back to you and your background. So I see you worked at a quite a few different companies. You were a chief software architect at Metro Data One. You were a network engineer, web programmer at Takeout Press.
Yeah,
tell us,
oh my goodness.
Tell us a little bit about your journey.
This info?
I'm sorry? Where am I getting it?
No, I'm like, where are you getting this info? Yeah.
It's all out there on the interweb.
I know. Jeez. So yeah, my journey has kind of been. I feel like I've lived like almost like two lives here. You know, when I first got out of school, I pretty much, I was a gun for hire. I mean, I worked for a bunch of different companies, like Computer Future Project of America, which was based in Sacramento. I moved around quite a bit because my family moved around quite a bit, and at the time I was trying to. I was kind of in that transition of like being an adult and then also still trying to like be a kid too, because I felt like I kind of grew up a little faster than I needed to. So yeah, I worked in Sacramento. I worked in Visalia at this place called Takeout Press, which is a place where they did wedding invitations, and they did pretty much everything you can think of as far as things around a wedding. So invitations, they did like those corny glasses that have you and your wife's picture on them, and they do like the cutting set for the cake. They do all kinds of stuff. They were owned by the same company that owns like the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Minnesota Vikings and all that. So
okay,
it was a good experience, but I ended up getting fired from that job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I ended up getting fired, and it ended up being I think one of the best things for me, because I always felt like I was trying to push the envelope. This was an organization that really had they didn't really have a real tech staff until they hired me and a few other people. One guy who was my manager, he had actually no technology experience whatsoever, which was, very odd, but he had great experience in knowing how the company ran and all that. But basically, it wasn't just me that got fired, by the way. It was the entire IT staff. They pretty much outsourced it, across the board. But
so it was more of a layoff
than
not a fire.
Yeah. What now?
I say it was more of a layoff, but not getting fired. It was letting people go.
Yeah, I take it just the same. I mean, really, I think my goal ultimately, because I get this work ethic from my dad. My dad's been with the same company for like 33 years. And his work ethic is basically, make yourself indispensable, you know what I mean, from the very beginning. Make sure that they know that, make sure that whoever you're working for, whether it be yourself or, well, not even yourself, but whether it be a company or not, let them know that, look, you're a real asset. You're not just some guy who's there to draw a paycheck, And I think that work ethic has kind of gotten lost with my generation. It's like we all want to just be superstars, and we don't want to really put the work in. We want to just kind of, take the easy route. So I mean, I thought I failed because it was my first real big IT job outside of school. And Yahoo was just warming up at that time. I mean, it was hitting, into the moon. And I was like, man, I wish they would have kept me on for that whole summer that I worked for them. But, at that time I was kind of just trying to figure out where the heck do I go next? What am I going to do? And, and that's where I got the startup bug.
So what type of technologies were you touching when you were at Takeout?
Hey, before you touch on that, Chris, before you touch on that, I wanted to add to your whole work ethic thing. I 100% agree with that. It's something I've seen since I started my career is that a lot of people, I call them the 9-to-5ers. They just go to work from 9 to 5. They don't even put in a good full 8 hours of work. What I like to do is take ownership of my work, meaning like when I go to work, whether it's working for somebody, I like to look at how would I want my employees to be, and that's how I try to fulfill my work day, meaning like if I want to make the company better, I sit there and try to find ways to make my team better or our products better, and it's not even to be in competition with anyone that I work with. It's just that I know if I run my own company, that is how I will want my employees to be. And a lot of people should take that same attitude, but I can understand why some people may not want to because they may feel that, well, nowadays it's not about working for 30 years at one company or they kind of feel that whole job security is no longer there. So some people are starting to get that attitude as, well, you know what, this company don't care about me, but why should I care about them? But in all honesty and reality,
which might be true. Which might be totally true. It might be totally true.
Could be.
I mean, but you have to pick your own battles, right?
That company is still paying you. That company is still paying you to do a job. So you came in contract with that company saying, I'm committed to your company. Well, it's not a set how many years, but as long as they paying you, you're committed to do the job that you was hired to do. So I mean, you should try to do the best you can while you're there, and try not to look at what others may be doing or how much other people may be getting paid, because your time to negotiate your pay was when you got hired. You was fine for that price. Now, if they bring someone,
that's when you stand and gain the most money is the first day when you negotiate what you're going to get paid. Because after that, it's one of those things where it just completely falls off.
Yeah, I see so many people get disgruntled, like, man, did you see how much they hired this person in coming in at? I said, well, good for them. That's what they negotiated. Maybe you should have negotiated better. You don't want to dislike or hate on other people just because they had better negotiation skills. It's time for you to negotiate. And you don't run in the back room, I heard you was paying such and such this much, now what you going to pay me? No, your argument should be like, my skill set, I should be getting paid this much. I really like working here. I don't want to leave you guys to get what I deserve, so how can you guys work with me? That should be your argument. Sorry, I just wanted to go on that rant before we moved on to another subject.
So I think really, I mean, you hit it right on the head, because the whole thing is that before I worked for myself, I was working for other people, and the thing is, the reality of that situation is that I still work for people. I work for my customers. I work for my partners like TaskRabbit. I work for everybody that reads, my blog post, or everybody that basically has any contact with me. I do what I do for them. So I still work for someone. And when you have your own business, and I say business as opposed to startup, because I feel like that's when I'm starting. It's not. I mean, it is a startup. Don't get me wrong. We're still at the bleeding edge, and we're trying to, we're in that kind of competitive zone. But at the very heart of what we're doing is we're building a business, something that's going to be lasting, not something that is an acquisition target or something that that ultimately will, be part of something else bigger. We're looking to kind of stay independent and do what we do. But I think, to what resonated with what you just said was the fact that, there's, we don't know, our jobs become they don't have the same value as when we first started, and that happens to a lot of people. But that's what happens when new ideas start to really launch, That's when people get tired and they say, maybe I need to do my own thing. Maybe I need to go and start my own company or do something that I've always had the aspirations or the dreams to do. And that's really the heart of innovation. That's really the heart of entrepreneurship right there, is being fed up with someone else giving you a check and saying, I can go do this on my own and keep all the profits and do all the things that I want to do. And that's really it. It just takes the motivation to do it and to stay motivated at it.
Yeah, I think you just brought up a good point. I think it's a lot, too, dealing with people wanting to do what it is that they want to do, and it's hard to find that in a company. Like, some people can find satisfaction working with a company. They can stay challenged. They can continue to feel that they're growing. But some people who just have that itch that's saying, like, no job is fulfilling my needs with technology or innovation, and that's when they spin off and really want to do stuff on their own, and they do it really well, And sometimes entrepreneurship may just fall in someone's lap by a mistake. Maybe someone was working on a project on their own to fulfill a need, but wasn't even thinking about business at all. But then they find out what they built for themselves, a bunch of other people need that. So then you have a business that has been born from that.
Yeah, before you know it, it's one of those things. It should surprise you a little bit because, there's so many great. I'll tell you, ever since I've kind of delved into the startup scene, I've heard so many great ideas, and there's just so many great entrepreneurs out here. And one of the hardest things to do is to stay motivated. And, because you can have an idea, it can get almost zero traction, but it's something that you've always wanted to do. It's something that really, has something connected with you. And the thing is, I've seen a lot of great ideas fall by the wayside. I've seen a lot of horrible ideas get all the fame, all the traction, and all the funding. And it's very ironic, And that's it. It's a science that you can't really figure out, to be honest. And I don't spend a whole lot of time trying to say, well, if I do this, it's going to equal this, or because it's not a formula. It's just something that either you have it or you don't.
So how did you come about finding AisleFinder?
I tell people from my perspective, the genesis of AisleFinder is basically I've always been obsessed with finding things. Specifically, when I was a kid, me and my dad, we used to go on these long bike rides across San Jose. And this one particular time, we stopped to rest at some park, and he gets back on his bike, and he tells me to stay there. And then he starts riding his bike around, maybe 50 yards away, and he yells back, "Find your way home." And, to, a 10-year-old kid, that's like putting the weight of the world on your shoulders, That's like the unthinkable, because you don't know your way home, and you don't know how to even start to find your way home. But it's about relying completely on your instincts. And, I think that's kind of what's driven me as an entrepreneur too. And that's kind of how I see in my own memories where it started for me with AisleFinder. But where it really kind of became rock solid was when I was 15. I had a a job in a grocery store. That was what I did, was help people find things in the aisles. And fast forward to 2008, I had the idea of, me and my wife, we were in the store, and basically we were having people over that night. We were running out of time. We slept in instead of doing our grocery shopping early in the day, and I was so like upset because I couldn't find anything in the store, and I was like, it's ridiculous. This store is like a block from my house, and I still can't find anything here. I come here once a week. It's one of those things that was a pain point. So I started looking into if there was any apps. I even asked the people that came over that night. I said, what app do you use to navigate grocery stores? They said, well, I just kind of, I just bear it. It's one of those things that it's a constant pain point for everyone, but we do it. Some people love shopping. I love shopping, but for the people that want to get in and out, it's just a painful process. So when I found that there was nobody else in the game doing this, I said, wow, well, here's an opportunity. Let me leverage my skills to make this happen. And sure enough, here we are today. We're enjoying the success of that, and hopefully much more success in the future.
Definitely. So that was the genesis of it. Let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into some of the technology behind it. What technology did you leverage to create AisleFinder? What programming languages, databases, things of that nature?
So in the very beginning, I built this thing on Microsoft technology because that was kind of the environment. When I was working for Microsoft, I basically, became an evangelizer on the .NET platform. So I was so in love with the .NET platform, and this was HTML5 really taking off.
Okay.
And so I built it on that, and it's still built. Even the API that we launched today is built in .NET. So we built it on that, SQL database. We built it completely on the Microsoft stack. And as far as, other technologies, we leverage CSS3 as much as we can for the browsers that will support it. And our mobile app that will launch soon is actually built on PhoneGap and HTML5 and CSS3.
Okay. Now, were there any special ways in for you to get the information of the aisles, in the stores and everything like that, into the platform? And if so, what types of things did you use in order to get that information?
Basically, I killed someone, and so I did this. In the very beginning, we had a partnership with one of the biggest retailers in the U.S., Safeway. We had a deal with them that they provided 40 stores for us, right, here in the Bay Area.
Okay.
And that worked out pretty well for a little while. And initially, that was kind of the thing. They're like, okay, well, this guy keeps calling, he keeps annoying us. Let's just give him a little bit of what he wants. Because initially I was trying to build relationships with retailers to get them to give me their information, and it only worked for Safeway and SuperValue because those were the two big ones that I really wanted, and I was just persistent. And so what happened next was after about 8 months, it just got to the point where Safeway wasn't going to give me any more information on any of the stores. It was pretty much a dead-in-the-water situation, which is let me just kind of point this out. I'm not the first person to come up with this idea. I'm definitely not the first person, and I had done a lot of research on the people that have tried this before. I kind of looked at the points in which they failed. I even called some of these people up randomly, and I was telling them what I'm going to do, and they said, well, the most common thing that they ran into was that they didn't have enough data. They didn't have enough data from retailers to say, what products do they have in the stores. They didn't have enough participation from a retailer to say, okay, here, we're going to give you our aisle information of how our stores are laid out. They didn't have those two key things. So I started to go about it very systematically because at Microsoft, you really learn how to leverage large data sets. You learn how to get information in all the nooks and crannies, So
okay.
One thing that I started to do was I said, okay, those are two major problems, and this is why, if anything, this is why my company will fail. And we had already kind of ran into one of them because Safeway was not giving us any more information. So I said, well, let me try to eliminate the need for me to need them to give me information. So what I started to do was I started to just call up stores randomly here in my area, and I even started to visit some of the store managers in the area, and I said, and I used, just my regular cell phone, and I did about 100 in maybe, less than a week, because I was just, I was fed up. I said, I'm just going to get this data no matter how, And the more and more I started to practice doing this, the more and more I got down to a basic script. I got down to where I can basically map a store in about 3 minutes if I'm, if I'm really persistent and I know what to ask for. And that's the thing. We don't just ask, hey, where's the toilet paper, where's the ketchup, where's this? We ask very specific leading questions that store managers and store employees really know off the top of their head. One way that we've done is by mapping category managers, by mapping category leaders, And one of the ways, so let's imagine Heinz ketchup, right? Heinz ketchup is a category leader in condiments. So you ask questions about, like where's Heinz ketchup? Where are specific products in the store that that they carry every time, and then you can get those category leaders mapped to different individual categories.
Gotcha.
And there's a little bit of a science to it. We have some custom questions that we ask to get other areas in the store, but I mean that's pretty much the basics of it. So I said, okay, this is going to take forever. So once I had that out of the way, I said, okay, now I have a way to gather data. Not a big deal. We can totally bypass the stores and just go directly to an employee. Any employee in the store can answer the questions that we ask. The next thing that, I sat down at my kitchen table with my wife and I said, well, this is going to be impossible to map all these 18,000 stores in the U.S. It's kind of ridiculous. And, and at that time I only had like 130 or 140 stores. So I said, well, I'm going to need a workforce. I'm going to need like a workforce of, hundreds of people to just gather this data. So the next thing I started doing was something that we did at Microsoft. We leveraged Amazon Mechanical Turk. Now, we only did so on specific projects that had deadlines that really needed to be met. But the cool thing about Mechanical Turk is that you can hire a workforce for literally pennies on the dollar. And, you can have them do small managed tasks. And our tasks, now that we have this script, we can have this task basically ran through with a person using Skype, and they take 4 minutes to log a store, and that's it. So 4 minutes for every store, and then you do the math, and basically you'll know exactly how much resource you're going to need, how many people you're going to need. And so it's gotten to the point now where we basically have the same 28 people that we use all the time. And they're always eager and ready to help us out. When we're doing a huge build out or a new feature on our site. So yeah. So those are kind of the broad strokes, I think.
That's pretty interesting. It sounds very, very detailed. It sounds like it would take a lot longer than what you actually say. I mean, 3 minutes to map a store. That sounds kind of miraculous. But I guess once you got it down pat on the specific things you need to ask for, it becomes pretty second nature. So I'm looking on the site now, and there's coupons, there's pictures of the items. So how did you go about getting that information in? And also, can you kind of talk about? I don't want you to give any, if you have any secrets or anything like that. Just talk about maybe the way you structured, let's say the back end piece of it, like the database, in order to hold this massive amount of information.
Yeah. So, how we went about getting the information, the product, is actually a pretty. Now, this is going to be completely giving up game right here, but I'm just going to do it because we just launched our API today, and basically, I want to make our process as transparent as possible to help other people,
okay,
leverage our experience in this particular space. One thing that we did, and this is, I don't tell everybody this because
okay,
it's kind of a weird story. So,
this is totally exclusive, then. I'm excited over this, man.
Yeah,
you got an exclusive here.
Here's the thing. One thing that basically I did very early on, and this is following that same thing of leveraging every bit of data. One of my things that I love to do is find data in unknown places or places that people don't regularly think about. So what I started to do, at the time we started AisleFinder, we had about 20,000 products. And a lot of that was from the USDA. Don't ask me how and how they gave us that information, but I'll just say this: everything goes through the USDA. Okay, so so we started out with that data set. We started out with a real rich data set, and we said, "Oh, this is great." We have all this product, but all we had was product names. We had like 20,000 product names, and we had categories, but that just wasn't that wasn't going to bring us to the next level. That wasn't going to get us where I felt we needed to go, which is to have a really visually rich product that would help people really visualize what they're buying. So I started to say, okay, who would be willing to give me this data right now, for a price? And so after doing research, I found companies like My Web Grocer and a couple other people. They were charging $100,000 for a set of 150,000 products or something like that. Kind of the thing that we're giving away today. They were charging a crap ton of money, man. It was ridiculous. So I said, there's got to be a different way. There's got to be an easier way. Let me do this thing where, one thing that kids here in the I don't know. When I was younger, and I'm here in Silicon Valley, you learn all about hacking. You learn about how to deal with people very early on. So what I did was this. So I learned that a certain chain was closing down 32 grocery stores. They were shutting down quite a few stores in the New Mexico area. So what I did was I made a contact with a company called Gordon Brothers. Now, Gordon Brothers is a company that liquidates assets. So they basically buy, when a company goes out of business, they buy the assets and they sell them off. So I made a contact with the guy at Gordon Brothers, and I kind of leveraged a contact, through Microsoft. And so this guy was telling me, these stores are going out of business and everything. So I said, tell you what. I said, do they have any computer systems over there? And he said, yeah. He said, yeah, they got some computer systems. What do you want to do with them? I said, look. I said, tell you what. Let me have your lawyer or my lawyer look at documents, and can you release, the computer systems over there that they have to me? I said, how many do you have? He said, 4. I said, how much do you want for them? And he says, oh, well, they're trying to, get $5,000 each. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to pay that. I said, look, you guys are looking to get rid of them. I said, let me take all 4 of them for $1,000. He said, tell you what. Yeah, so he says, I can't ship them to you. I said, you'll have to come here and get them. So he tried to make it real difficult for me. So next morning I was on a plane. And so I got those servers, and ultimately it had a ton of data. I mean, more data than what the store was actually using. So
a little social engineering there.
Production. Yeah, they had product images, the whole nine. I mean, it was ridiculous. But basically, it wasn't ready for production yet because the data still needed to be cleaned up and everything. So I had people do Mechanical Turk again, work on it for about 6 weeks, doing a little scrubbing and typo errors and all that stuff. So yeah, once that was ready, I said, so now we have something that is a little bit visual, and now it's kind of time for us over the next, 6 to 8 months. Let's try to. By that time, we had a competitor. We had a company called Aisle411 come on the scene, and they have a good product. I don't want you to get it wrong. They have a good product, but it's just not as good as ours. And so I said, okay, over the next 6 to 8 months, my real goal is to just put them in a place that basically they're going to have to compete for business,
Mm-hmm.
And now, I mean, especially with today's announcement of our API going live, I mean, it's just one of these things that, I understand that, in this space there's challenges, but I just want what we do to be a mark that everyone has to kind of rise to. And that's kind of what we're going to continue to keep doing with AisleFinder. I feel like, we're at the cusp of something that's really dynamic, and it's really going to enhance the way people do shopping, not only in store but just in general. And that's our overall goal, is to just enhance that experience.
Yeah, I can see someone easily having this on their iPad, quickly being able to look up something, map out their store, have their grocery list right there, or you have a iPad app. Before you go to the grocery store, you list out everything you're going to get, and right then and there you can say, everything is in this aisle. As you go down the aisles, make sure you don't forget anything. It should help make your grocery shopping a lot quicker. So with you opening up your API, you probably will allow people to now develop iPad or iPhone app to get that data to do that very thing. Now, a quick question: how are you keeping up to date with stores change their aisles? You know how different promotions, different things happen. They like to move stuff around the stores. How are you getting alerted? Like, hey, we need to change this store because they moved everything around.
Yeah, so I get emails about that like every single week, I'm telling you. One of the things that we've done to just kind of be proactive is that we've shortened our cycle for updating information from 4 months to 2 months. And that was a big goal for this summer, was to, have enough revenue to where we can shorten that time. And so basically, if anything's out of date, it's just 2 months out of date as opposed to it being months and months out of date. Our real dream goal is to be day one type of, or not day one, but, day 7. So from a week to week, we can have people check this kind of information, continuously, just to make sure that we have the most accurate and fresh set of data out there.
Wow.
And also with our API, we're looking in the next 2 weeks to open it up to where people can, enter their own information and basically make it available to the entire community of supermarket API developers. So that's just kind of one of the things we're trying to leverage the heck out of, just to make sure everything is top notch and on point.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of this app, MyFitnessPal, where they allow users to insert data about the nutrition values of food and stuff. It's more community-based now. They don't have to rely on people populating the database, or they don't have to rely on populating the database. The community is populating the database, and people vote on, is that information accurate or not?
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. It's a very slippery slope, and our competitor does that sort of thing where it's all crowdsourced. And you can do, and the thing is, you have to realize that, when you have a community of people that are dedicated to just entering in for information, there's no accountability. They're not going to update that information as well as we can do. But now we have kind of a formula to differentiate the information that we're entering in and the information that the community is entering in, so that we can communicate to the people that use our app that basically, hey, this is not really, this is data. You want some data, but the thing is, this data might not be accurate. So, don't give it the full face value. And we're still trying to we're still trying to learn about how to do that in a more efficient way, in a more clean way. The best thing that we can do right now is actually just double check what people are entering in and just add it into our check cycle for making sure those things are accurate. And that's all we can do right now. I mean, in the future, we may have a more streamlined way of doing it.
Now, as far as the data being entered into your database, this is more or less a manual process.
Yeah, the whole thing is manual because we don't have like I said, we totally bypass the store in the way that we don't need to connect to their POS systems. Like other people need to. We're gathering this data, as an independent company, gathering this information, just like a person would do market research, right? They would call and call or, do this sort of thing. The thing about grocery stores is it's all about customer service. So they have to answer the phone and they have to be of service. So, there you go. That's a big hurdle eliminated.
Gotcha. So you said earlier this is pretty much all built on Microsoft's platforms. I'm pretty sure you got SQL databases in the back. You probably got are using IIS for the web servers, and it looks like you're using ASP for the language. Are you using actual physical infrastructure to house your app, or are you using any of the cloud services or any virtualized servers, or how are you handling that piece of it?
All our servers are virtualized, even our, I think with the exception of our database. We're using Microsoft Azure platform. And soon which is basically like their cloud, their cloud infrastructure. But soon we'll actually be on another tier. So we're trying to get some more dynamic CDN stuff, like where basically they'll do all the image hosting, and we'll change the way that we get images and everything from one way to another. So I don't know what that looks like yet, but eventually we'll be there.
Nice. And is it because of your background with Microsoft pretty much is why you chose to go with that as opposed to like PHP and MySQL and Apache?
Well, I've tried different technologies. Huh?
Okay. No, I was saying just your familiarity with Microsoft.
Not necessarily even that, because at the time that I was, because at the time that I was trying to start AisleFinder, I basically was thinking, okay, what's the most that I can leverage, the data, because that's the thing. If it's not fast getting the data, then it doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
And I just found that Microsoft the awareness of the knowledge base was huge, and I had known that from firsthand experience, of course. I had tried the LAMP stack, but there was just so much the only deterrent to that is that there just was so much information that is very biased. It's very polarized. So it's either you're this type of LAMP developer or you're this type of LAMP developer. And I just said, well, I'm gonna build my prototype on ASP.NET because that's what I know well. And if I want to switch it later on, I can easily do it. So.
Okay.
So that's what I was going to say, that's what I love about the cloud, because the cloud is going to allow people to quickly come up with ideas and just try it out, spin it up, versus trying to find a physical server or a place to put it at. You can go to Amazon Cloud, spin something up, test it out. If it starts working, start scaling that out and go from there. Or you can go to...
Yeah, it used to be a real expensive process. It used to be a hugely expensive process to try to, get your server and all that. You had, like, the old pizza box servers, and you had to, like, host it in your living room and all that stuff. And now it's just so modularized that you don't need all that infrastructure just to make something happen. You can do it very lightly. Even Amazon has a really great, like, EC2 model, and they have a ton of really good server products that I'd like to kind of explore in the future. But right now, make my Microsoft stuff.
Gotcha. The cost to start business nowadays has dropped so much. I mean, people can, quickly build a server infrastructure in a matter of minutes. They can have a complete phone system, IVR system to make you sound like a big business in a matter of an hour or two. So, I mean, sky's the limit, really, nowadays, with real low capital to get started. But I think everyone needs to be at least trying to do something on the side. Especially if you're a developer, and you can develop application software, quickly set up your virtual server and start playing it or trying to get an ideal out there, because if it's good,
you should be playing at night, not watching X Factor.
Exactly.
No, but I mean, you have to balance it. That's the thing, If you think about the guys that came before us, I mean, the generation and the generation before that, these were guys that were starting things out of their garage, literally. They were staying up late, trying to build something or trying to figure a problem out, and no one knew about it until they said, well, I have this idea, it's ready to go. Let me see if I can get customers. Let me see what I can do, or let me make something out of nothing, which is kind of where my family is. We're kind of these people that make a great situation out of zero. Start from zero and see where you go.
Excellent. Well, it seems like a real incredible app, man, and I wish you nothing but the best with it.
Thanks.
And it's real exciting that you announced that you released your API on this show. That's an exclusive.
Let me do a shout out here, just to kind of. Let me do a shout out.
Do you need to go? Because I wasn't actually wrapping up. I was just kind of saying some things.
Oh, okay. I was like, no.
So
don't leave me, guys. I need you right
now. Do you want to do your shout outs? Do you want to do your shout outs now, or we can wait to the end of the? I still had a few questions. I still wanted to get into into NewMe Accelerator and then your experience there, and then your experience as a. Yeah, definitely.
I had another question about them. A question about the Microsoft Azure. How does their cloud work? I know a lot of cloud providers, they charge and pay as you go, where there's like really no contract. You spin up a server, you pay 13 cents an hour or something. Just tell us a little bit about the Microsoft cloud for all the Microsoft developers out there who's looking to play or want your own little dev environment. That may be something that they can look into doing if it's very cost effective. So if you can just talk about your experience with using them, how easy it is, and what the cost and stuff may be.
Sure. So my experience with Microsoft, their products in this way, especially when they're focused so much on the cloud right now, that it's kind of making my teeth hurt. Microsoft has always kind of been this game changer to me, at least. A lot of people kind of feel different and everything, but they have a strong focus on the enterprise. And the reason why is because they realize that inside the enterprise is where people get a lot of work done. I think Macs, the way that, well, I'm not even going to get into that whole debate, but I think that's one thing that people still kind of count Microsoft out at. They still have the strongest software as far as the Office suite and everything. And I think that they, when you know that it's a Microsoft product, there's a certain amount of trust in the consumer's eyes with that. And so I think that's why a lot of developers are still engaged with Microsoft because they know that it's a completely open environment that developers can really express themselves. There's nothing off limits when it comes to the Microsoft platform. There's just nothing you can't do. You can build a product that will compete with them, built on their technology, and they have no problem with it. It's not this kind of closed environment. So with the cloud product, it's the same thing. You can really leverage the space. You can really leverage familiar Microsoft technologies to make your site or your product or your image cache or something like that really pop. So I'm all for the experience of getting your feet wet with Microsoft because I think it would be well worth it, and it's going to translate to a bunch of different things that you're going to encounter as a developer.
So how to Cloud Xero, like, do you log in and you say, I want a SQL server, and you just click to something that quickly creates your SQL server or your IIS server or your .NET framework setup? Is it just...
Yeah, it's very much like that. I mean, you log into the Azure platform, and basically you can programmatically create a new server, which is cool, or you can create it using their UI that they have. And you'll have a server, and you'll have a SQL or just a standard Windows server within a few minutes, and then it'll show you all the connection information that you need in order to connect to it and leverage the information. It'll show you all the connection streams that you need to pipe it into Visual Studio, and I've just overall been happy with it because I've seen it from the very beginning. I seen it years ago when they were just thinking about the concept. You have to realize with Microsoft, they have a lot of technologies that they haven't even released to the public yet. That are really hot, and they would compete with anything that that's out there right now.
Nice.
I think at the end of the day, most people have to go with what they feel comfortable with, whether it's a Microsoft setup or Linux setup, because, a lot of the languages can do the same thing. Some of them may be easier to do something in, but honestly, it comes down to whatever someone's really comfortable with. Like, if it was for me doing a project, most likely I would be doing on Linux, PHP, MySQL route, or I've dealt a lot with Java, with Oracle, Tomcat, WebLogic setups. And it's really, again, whatever someone's comfortable with. But on a entrepreneur business side, I remember I was reading this book called Hackers and Painters. It was by, I think, the creators of Yahoo.
By Paul Graham.
I want to say Yahoo. Yeah,
Paul
he said
Graham.
they're... Huh?
Paul Graham from Y Combinator?
Yeah. I think he was like, at some point, it does come down to the language you use, which will give you your advantage, because sometimes it may take something, quicker to do in one language, or you have more flexibility in one language than someone else, because when they first started out, they was using the new Lisp language, and what they was able to do, with their product, a lot of other companies couldn't do it or do it as quick. So sometimes when you take in a language and stuff, you want to also make sure it's going to be flexible and give you the technical advantage of being able to crank something out fairly quickly.
Yeah,
and that's one.
To add to that, when I see like developers and don't get me wrong, Ruby on Rails is really great as far as a paradigm to make things happen. But I think what happens is that developers get so caught up in the buzz of that language that it's something that's very niche as far as out here, especially because a lot of developers use it. But the scalability is always a question mark. It is scalable, but it's one of these things that if you're trying to build the next Facebook or if you're at Facebook and you're trying to use Ruby on Rails, or you're trying to, they'll realize that it's just a question mark as to how to scale it and everything, because it's all new territory. And I think it really depends on where you're trying to go. If you have a solid roadmap, there's companies that I know that have completely switched gears in the middle. So what works for you right now may not be the best thing for you in 2 years, because you'll say, well, here's the next iteration of that, or the next best thing, and you'll be on to that too. So, but I think it really is about choice, But I've never been under that scrutiny of where people hated my product because of what I chose to develop it in. So, there are some
people
like that.
Your customers don't care. They just want a functioning app. It's like, I just want it to work.
Exactly. You think somebody looked at my site and
after you leave?
ASPX? No way. Mm-hmm.
How many people did you go ahead, Ronnie? What were you going to ask?
I didn't hear you.
I would say your site looks really good. It's real clean and simple, and it looks really good.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
How many?
I did that while my wife was asleep in the bed.
Oh, really?
And,
is that a picture of your wife on the front page?
What now?
Is that a picture of your wife on the front page of AisleFinder?
No, actually, you know what? The funny story is that my wife's picture. So my wife is not really an online person. She's not like she's not into Facebook and all that stuff. So originally, when I first launched in the first iteration of AisleFinder, I had her picture on there as showing the product and everything. And my wife is very cute, so I'm like, hey, I'm going to use your picture, and she didn't feel comfortable with that, but I just did it anyway. And I guess after a while she warmed up to it. But when I took it down, right, and I put the young lady that's on there now, she was, you could see like the sadness on her face. So it was like, oh man,
you replaced her.
I know. She was a ghost model.
I'm about to go to the Wayback Machine on archive.org to see if it archives your old site.
Yeah. Is it on there? I guess. Yeah.
No,
but,
I'm about to see.
But I've always liked my wife being on whatever. But so again, when people seen her too, it was like, oh, you're the girl from the AisleFinder thing, and I'm like, yeah, that's my wife,
That's funny. How many people did you have initially developing this app, and then how many do you have now?
All right, you ready for this big number?
Yeah.
1.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just you, huh?
And his name was Curtis Pope. Yeah.
Wow.
So, believe me, if I could hire more really top class developers, I would. I just, I've always kind of, I've been really not cheap, but I've just been frugal as far as spending money on developers, because, I figured, well, I can do it, and and I can design too, so I'm just kind of leveraging that for right now, and a few of my investors are like, well, now, you need to kind of hire somebody and try to offload some of those things, just because it's getting to where I can't really focus on the day to day if I'm still doing tweaks and things like that on the site. So
yeah.
The future looks bright, so we'll see.
Great. Let's talk about NewMe Accelerator. This is something that's been in the news. It's been on CNN. It's been all over Twitter. It's been a lot of different publications, and I've seen it, being plugged into the tech scene, of course, and being a black male in the tech scene. I've definitely heard of it, but I don't know like the inside scoop on it. So, tell us what your experience was like. I did see the trailer for the thing that I can't remember. Miss O'Brien. How do you pronounce her first name?
I almost said Conan O'Brien. Over that O'Brien.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. No.
I did see the trailer for that, and it looked very, very riveting. It looked dramatic, and I don't know if that's all done in the editing, but even if it is, it looked pretty intense. I actually, who put that up? Angela Benton on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
She put that link up, and I actually asked her. I said, hey, it looked very competitive and very, intense. Was it really like that? She said, yeah, but it was a lot of fun. So give us the firsthand view on NewMe Accelerator. Tell us what NewMe Accelerator is, and tell me how you got involved and all that good stuff.
Okay, so NewMe Accelerator is basically the first of its kind minority accelerator, meaning that they take people that have ideas, or some have fully fleshed products, and they take them through paces over in our experience it was 9 weeks, and they basically introduce you to a number of VCs and mentors and speakers that will help you to sharpen your sword a little bit, help you to really focus and make a really good product that will appeal to a lot of people. So in a nutshell, that's kind of how I explain it. I mean, I'm sure I'm butchering it. So I mean, Angela and Wayne have done a great job with the accelerator. And so yeah, I mean, in my experience this summer, it was great. Had a great time. It had its intense moments. I mean, I don't like it. I don't want to say that it was like drama filled or anything. If there was any drama, it was stuff that I said or stuff that I did, and that's what it is. But no, it was really great to be with all those entrepreneurs and for them to inspire and help each other. You know what I mean? That was the killer right there, because that's where I felt like NewMe really did its thing, because it was like, wow, we got all these people together. I mean, like every other day I would hear that, someone came up with a different idea or a different startup or, things like that. And it was like, wow.
Wow.
It's just.
Was that a lot of pressure then? Like, you're really, you're in the, from what it looked like on the clip, you're housed with like, all these other entrepreneurs, and if everyone is coming up, hey, I got this idea for this, and how does that? What type of pressure is that? Just on you to be able to? Do you have to basically have to have a comeback? Like, oh, I got an idea too, or was it more like?
No, I feel like I mean, those were like the best moments to me, because I was like, wow, these guys are coming up with ideas like while they sleep, and then they wake up, and then they're able to share them with other nerds like us. I wasn't in the house, but I mean, I was at the house probably every week. I tried to be there every week, but I lived about 20 minutes away, and
gotcha.
But the cool thing is, when I was there, it would always be like idea sessions. Like there would always be, we'd just be sitting around spitballing ideas off of each other, and I felt like that was a really great thing, because a lot of us that are starting companies, we all have more than one idea. So it's not like I went in there and said, I only got one idea, and that's AisleFinder, and that's it. We're people that are full of ideas, but it's the execution and the focus that really makes the difference between a successful product and one that's just kind of a pipe dream.
Yeah, so, and it's the whole idea behind NewMe Accelerator, and the fact that you all are even involved with it, and even the fact that CNN is going to be premiering this on TV. That it's huge, because that's, to me, one of the most important factors when it comes to getting the next generation of black men and women into the technology scene, and seeing it for something that's not as mythical as what some tend to believe.
The thing that I want to note is that a lot of people have been talking about this idea of a black incubator, accelerator for a long time. But I will say this. Angela, Wayne, and Toby, they were the first ones to execute on it. And the thing is, they executed very successfully. Because I feel like it did everything that it was supposed to do, it did. And, to be honest, to be completely honest, I had issues with certain things, but it was never with NewMe, you know what I mean? It was, just like the CNN thing and all that. But what I'm saying is that, it did. And the reason I say that is because, some people, that know me, they know that, there were some things that I didn't like, but, it had nothing to do with NewMe whatsoever. It was all with, another entity. And, but I feel like NewMe did everything that it was supposed to do and a little bit more. I feel really grateful. And I feel sad now that it's over because it's like, man, where did the time go?
Yeah.
I feel like, that was a really great summer, and I felt like, a lot happened, and I got to know some people that basically I'll never forget. I hope that, we have long-lasting friendships and all that good stuff. It was bittersweet for it to end. I'll say that.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to. I'm actively trying to get Wayne or Angela, or both of them, for that matter, on one of our future podcasts. Or maybe you can, put in a word or and say, hey, these guys are pretty cool.
Right.
You might want to do a podcast with them.
You know what? Those two are so busy, man. They're really busy. I think Angela just moved out here or something, so I don't know where her transition is right now, but. I'd be down for that. Maybe I can make an intro or something. I don't know I don't know what their schedule's like, but I'm actually seeing Wayne next week.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll definitely mention it to him, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I didn't know at first that Angela actually ran the Black Web 2.0. We actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think. I'm pretty sure she does. She's like the owner, founder.
Oh, no. Yeah, I know she does. I was like, oh, really? You didn't know that? Yeah.
No, I didn't know it at first. It wasn't until later, once I started. Because we actually had correspondence before we were, I think we were like in some type of competition as HP had sponsored some, I can't remember the name of it. They had sponsored some, competition as far as like, what's the name of that? Anyhow, we were like one of the top websites or top, up and coming like tech. And so we had like they did like a small article on us and on Black Web 2.0, and we corresponded, but it didn't ring or resonate with me that she was the actual person that we were corresponding with until later. I can't remember, reading her name as Angela Bitton. I thought it was just Angela at the time. So and then later on, it was like, oh, that's Angela from Black Web 2.0. I didn't know that. So yeah, so. That's are they planning on doing another, session of NewMe Accelerator, or?
I believe so. I don't know the details, but I believe so. That's more of an Angela and Wayne question because, I'm not going to say anything, basically.
Gotcha. No problem.
But yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah. Great.
But,
now,
at least people know that this model really, really works because, I'm telling you, every Black entrepreneur I talk to now is asking me about how was the experience and whatnot, and I was like, wow, a lot of people are watching this and they see our experience and they it moves something, and that's good. For Wayne and Angela to move the needle is such a valuable thing.
Yeah, I think it's going. I think it's very highly anticipated. The CNN thing that's going to be premiered. I think it's in November. I think there's going to be a lot of people watching that. So, yeah, big ups to Wayne and Angela on that, man. They did an incredible job.
Yeah. I don't know if now, just to kind of clarify, I don't know if I'm even going to be in the final product, but you know,
really?
for those guys that were in the house, you know, the local entrepreneurs weren't asked to participate, and you know, that was the producer's decision or not.
Okay.
I don't know, but you know, for what it is, I feel like, you know, those guys in the house, I hope that you know, they enjoy the success of this, and you know, me and my company, we were part of this, and I just feel, you know, it's all good, and we'll see how it ends up, man. You know, I'm excited to see. I want to see it like as soon as possible, so I can at least get a high mom moment. You know what I mean? You know, something to show my unborn kids or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So you write for? What do you do for Hacker News?
No, I just contribute stuff there. I mean, it's not like I'm like the editor-in-chief or anything. Because Hacker News would probably look completely different if that was the case.
I did. It's funny that you say that. I've never actually checked out Hacker News before until today, and I took a look at it, and I was just like, what in the heck is this? It just looks like a page of RSS feeds, and I was just like, how am I supposed to find his stuff amongst all this? So, like, what exactly
man, you're totally missing it. You're totally missing everything going on there. So basically, Hacker News, the cool thing that I love about Hacker News is that basically anyone can post interesting things that are happening in technology that day or you know, that week or whatnot. You'll see like the most trending thing right now, I think, is the Steve Jobs news, which is, I mean, in the regular world, that's old news, but to technology people, that's news that's still that's newsworthy still. You know, the regular news cycle has stopped even covering it. So they're like, okay, we've done that. We've got our Pepsi and Coke money off of it, and you know, on to the next bloody news headline. So, but in technology, I mean, that's the headline that just won't go away.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty much do you contribute these? Do you write like an article form and then submit it, or how does that work?
So what I do, and here's typically what I do with most of my blog posts. So I write, you know, a post on entrepreneurship and, you know, different things that are going on, or, you know, just observations too. Because that's really what a lot of what I write about is things that I notice that are kind of weird, or stuff that, you know, technology-wise or people-wise should be one way, but it's really another. And so what I do is I write, and then basically I link it up. I submit the link to Hacker News, and I also submit the link to one of my favorite Facebook groups, Building While Brown, and from there, I mean, the discussions pretty much start. I mean, because you can get a lot of people to, well, no, you can't get a lot of people, but you can kind of start the conversation, and then other people can contribute what their thoughts are on what you wrote on Facebook or on Hacker News even. Okay.
I'm actually about to ask to join the group for Building While Brown.
Oh yeah? Yeah. You're like a year behind the times, my friend.
I am. I'm in Cincinnati, man. What do you expect?
Yeah, we got to get more connected with. We got to get more connected with people out in the Bay Area.
Oh yeah, we just had Hadia on the show, and I was on that show. I was like, man, I got to get out to San Fran. And actually, what's funny is it might be actually some. I have a contact, a guy who used to live in Cincinnati, who now lives out in San Francisco, and he works for a IT training company out there. And since we have the Blacks in Technology website and everything like that, we were actually talking about doing some type of partnership, and it might be it's a possibility that I may come out there to visit sometime in the future. I don't know when, but I'm definitely going to get out there somehow. San Francisco.
Let me know. Let me know ahead of time. We'll do a meetup or something, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm hitting everybody up, man. You and Adia and some of the other people from Black Founders. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not in Black Founders, but you know, I love them very much. Those are, you know, the thing about Black Founders that I really love is the fact that, I mean, I've seen these three young women and this guy Chris. You know, I've seen them kind of, you know, from the genesis of the idea, go from, you know, just the idea talk to actually executing and doing this. And I've just been like all in. I mean, everything that they're doing, I fully support. And so that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the community out here of Black entrepreneurs is that now we have a whole group or a meetup to where, you know, now we can all kind of have a space, you know, to exchange ideas or you know, just shoot the breeze about business, you know.
Gotcha. Well, hey, Curtis, I'm definitely appreciative that you were able to come on a podcast tonight and share your experience and share your knowledge with our listening audience, and especially for announcing, you know, that you released your API on the show. So definitely want to thank you for that. I also want to thank you for you know, following us on Twitter and for joining the site. That's huge. I always you know want to you know, say thank you to the people that support, you know, the things that we do. Just a little info. We're in the midst of a site redesign, and I'm loving how it's looking and everything. It's gonna allow people to fully, you know, experience what the site is supposed to be about. Right now, some of the things are kind of hidden. There's actually like videos and you can listen to the podcast on the site. But they're obscure right now. So people, they go to the site and they don't see it immediately, and they, you know, some tend to leave, some tend to, you know, just stay on the forums and within the social networking part of it. So we're totally, you know, redesigning the interface for it so things are, you know, more easily accessible. So hopefully that'll up the membership and up the community. But, you know, I'm happy that you were, you know, able to be a member, and definitely look for you to hopefully, you know, contribute any knowledge or anything like that. Just come to the site, drop it, you know, on the site, and let, you know, people experience that as well. So, yeah, thanks a lot, man. Are you guys going
to be at South by Southwest this year?
I'm definitely going to try to get there.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to.
Supposed to go.
I wanted to try to get out there too. I also wanted to say to the people in the community is that this may be a good opportunity for you to take advantage of trying to develop a iPhone or Android app to talk with AisleFinder's API.
I really hope that people do. You know, one of the things that I tell people and I always try to make time is that I'm always available. People that know me, they know my number, they know my email, they know I respond back very fast, and I try to be available to any entrepreneurs that, you know, that, I mean, just even if it's just shoot the breeze and talk about an idea, or, you know, you need confirmation of whether it's a good idea or a bad idea or whatnot, I'm always available. You know, hit me up on Twitter. I'm at CEO Pope, at AisleFinder, and now at Supermarket API, and also C Pope at AisleFinder. And you go to the site and or, you know, go on Twitter and get at me, and usually I try to get back to you very, very soon, or if not rapidly. So, you know, I'm always available, and I just want people to know that that I'm always a big proponent for any kind of minority, whether you're Indian, you're Black, you're Asian, you know, launching a startup and just trying to bring some diversity to the game.
That's what was the other? You had at Supermarket API, you had at AisleFinder, and
at CL Pope. At CL Pope, which is my personal Twitter. That basically I only right now I'm only on pretty much at AisleFinder, so you can just friend me there or follow me there, and you know, I do a lot of my stuff there now. So.
Okay. Any URLs that you want to mention before we get out of here?
Of course. Today we launched. This is my whole spiel now.
Definitely.
Today we launched a really critical piece in AisleFinder's future, and that's our official API. It's so official that we basically had to name it something completely different. But it's still in the AisleFinder family. This is actually our official API, and it's also our first AisleFinder Labs product. And I just want to tell all those people listening at home that the URL for our API is supermarketapi.com. So what Supermarket API is it's the first and robust open source API for the grocery industry. And so I urge everybody to go to supermarketapi.com and see what it can do, see what you can make it do. And, you know, connect with us on Facebook and Twitter as well, at Supermarket API and facebook.com/supermarket-API.
Excellent, man.
/ ###123. No, I'm just kidding. But there was a pause there, so I figured I'd insert some stuff that really didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I was writing down the information here because I like to put all this stuff in the show notes as well. So I was, you know, trying to play catch up, but that was a good improvisation there, and to throw that in the middle.
I know. I hate these awkward pauses, but yeah, but
yes,
something critical,
especially online. They don't.
Today.
What's that?
I said there's something critical for our kind of roadmap for where we want to be. This actually fulfills one of the goals that we had for the summer, and you know, we're not stopping here. We're going to do a lot more for everybody so that, you know, they can use our. The reason why we created this API is because we don't always have all the best ideas, and so we're opening this up to kind of get the engine started a little bit for developers that really want to build a product based on grocery information. So there'll be a lot more information entered in, as well as some partnerships that we have. But I urge you guys to just stay tuned, and we got a lot to offer, and we'll see you when we see you.
Nice. And especially our Blacks in Technology community. We actually have a pretty large community of developers on the site. So once I get this out there, and I'm definitely going to push it, you know, to the developers on the site and say, hey, man, if you guys have an idea, take advantage of this and make something of it. So, Curtis, man, thanks a lot, man. It's been real informative podcast, been real inspirational to me, just to hear, you know, Black people out there, you know, taking hold of this tech thing and owning it and doing some miraculous things with it, man. So keep up the good work.
Hey, you know,
definitely.
I just had a thought. You know, have you listened to our podcast with Blair on it?
I don't think I have yet.
Oh man,
Blair Underwood? No, I'm just Blair.
Blair Underwood. He's a developer now too. He's in the chat, just like Chameleonaire.
Oh really?
No,
but
no.
Oh, he's another member on our site who has a couple companies, but his one that's doing really well and I like is called Crazy Food Networks. So he's allowing people from their house to create their own food TV show on his platform. But they also submit recipes and stuff. Maybe you guys can kind of do some linking up where as people fill out different recipes, they can easily identify what store to go to and what aisle to get their food from. I don't know. I'm just thinking. Maybe something cool to have, or some partnership or cross-promotion on each other's sites.
Yeah, it's crazygoodfoodtv.com. A brother named his name is crazygoodfoodtv.com. His name is Cleavon Blair, but he goes by Blair. Him and his wife came up with the idea, and he actually, did all the, him and a partner of his did all the coding and everything for it. It's you'll see it if you go to this. It's basically a online TV show for cooking show. But it's more than that. It's for people can actually subscribe and join and upload their own cooking show and have their own programs and times and all that stuff. It's pretty nice. You just actually revamped the interface, the website for it, and it looks excellent. So yeah, definitely. I don't know what actual podcast it is, but if you go to podcast.blacksandtechnology.net, and you can check it out, and he actually talked about it launching or about him creating it on that podcast. But real sharp brother, man. You guys might, be able to work together.
Check it out.
Yep. It's pretty good.
Crazy good.
Like I said, maybe you guys can link up and link up, do some cross-promotion on each other's sites, or kind of ride the coattails of each other as you guys continue to move up the ladder with what you guys are doing.
And that's crazy with the K, not with the C.
Yeah, I'm just finding out. Is it Jim Miller?
Jim
Miller. Oh. No? I see Crazy Good Food.
Is that with the K?
Yeah, it's Crazy Good Food. Let me...
crazygoodfoodtv.com.
I'll look it up for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks a lot, Curtis. We're going to check out of here, but thanks a lot for spending some time with us tonight. A lot of time, as a matter of fact.
Well, thanks, man. Good. See, I could be watching X Factor, and now I'm hanging out with you guys. It's all good.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, let me shout out. I have a really good new assistant, actually. He's the guy that really helps me stay on time. And if you're on Facebook, tweet this guy, or his name is Harpreet Singh Arora. I know the name is kind of a mouthful, but we're friends. I'm friends with him on Facebook. Friend him too. He's a guy that really, really, he's the best assistant a guy like me can have, because he just, he loves what he does, and he's just awesome. So very cool guy.
I just friended you on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So and then I'll friend him too, and we'll definitely I'll link up. The power of social media, man. You gotta love it. Excellent, man.
Yeah.
Well, take care, man.
All right, man.
Hopefully we'll get you, on again once the website, and everything takes off even more. We'll get you back on for a recap.
Sure. Sounds good.
Cool, man.
All right. Good meeting you, Curtis.
Take care.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.